Hey, welcome everyone for a late version of the show. Today, we're going to talk about cognitive dissonance. As it is a Big Idea Wednesday, let's talk about a big idea. Cognitive dissonance. It's a tough word to say. And it's the thing that happens when people are confronted with new information that doesn't fit what they already think. It's like they're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, except in this case, the peg is a fact and the hole is your skull. Yeah, we've all experienced cognitive dissonance at some point in our lives, but likely we experience it every day. The problem with cognitive dissonance is that it can make us do some pretty irrational things, like not listening to reason because we heard something different last week. But here's the thing. It can also be a very powerful tool for personal growth and self-reflection. It's like a mental game of Jenga. You have to carefully examine your beliefs and values and figure out which ones are essential and which ones can be tossed aside. The key is to approach cognitive dissonance with an open mind. Don't be afraid to challenge your beliefs and consider new ideas. It's like upgrading your mental software. Sure, might be a little uncomfortable at first, but you'll be better off in the long run. So next time you experience cognitive dissonance, recognize it, embrace it, use it as an opportunity to learn and grow, and try to get a laugh out of it. That's what I do. My name is Tom Coffey. This is the Coffee and Nuance Show, the best censored commentary and news show live right now. Flame on. Yeah, cognitive dissonance. And we got a couple people watching, so welcome. Glad you are here. I will get to what happened a little bit later in the show, but let's just talk about this idea of cognitive dissonance. Essentially, what it means is you think one thing, and when you get new information that contradicts that, often what people do, they are not able to hold two ideas in their head that contradict each other. And so what do? Often they'll ignore the new information. Now, if we all did this, right, we'd have all the exact same thoughts we had when we were 6 years old. When we were 6 years old, if we thought something, and if any time we got a new idea that challenged it, and we went, nope, I already know this. I know everything. I'm 6 years old. I know everything in the world. We'd be stuck with all those same beliefs. But this happens a lot. This happens all the time. And I just want to give you a couple examples and how to not fall victim to it. In fact, one thing that did happen yesterday, why I bring this up, someone had posted something on a social media site. It's not really important what it was, and I don't want to drag the person for it. But they were wrong, okay? And so I posted a link to a video showing them that they were dead wrong on this particular topic. And in turn, I got I don't need to watch the video because I already know what I know. And that is a total tell for cognitive dissonance. Hey, here's the evidence. Don't need to see the evidence because I know. I already know. It's amazing that we do this. And a lot of people get defensive when they're met with new information that contradicts what they already believe. Now, I think I'm a little different in this case. Not saying better, just totally different. I get a kick out of finding out I'm wrong, right? So it's not a big deal to me. I laugh when I find out that I've been duped by something. I'm like, oh man, they got me again. And then I want to find out, how was I able to believe this in the first place? And then I get in a deep dive and try to figure out why I thought my original thought. But most people don't think that way. Most people think that you're challenging their intelligence. You're challenging their reason. You're challenging them. And maybe you are, a little, but I bring things up because I want people to know. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important, why the media is so important. Because if the media can get something out, some propaganda, for example, and everyone buys into that, then when the new information comes out, most people will do this number here. They don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear the new information. We've already got the information. And that's why there's this first mover advantage to propaganda, right? You want to get your thoughts out there first, whatever it happens to be. So that doesn't mean that you have to have an open mind to everything, right? There's some things that you may already, that you believe, you've researched them, you don't need to hear it anymore. I get that. But so often the opinions that we have on things, we just pick up just because it was there. We picked up this opinion. We never really looked into it. This is just what other people were saying, so I'll just go with that. We don't have time to research everything in our life. But you got to be open if someone says, hey, by the way, that's not true. Here are the facts. You should at least be open to checking them out. You can dismiss them if you want to. But just to turn a blind eye, just to close your ears, I don't want to hear that. I already have an opinion. You've been played, and you've been taken advantage of. So that's the idea with cognitive dissonance. That's the idea with it. We all do it. But I just wanted to give you an example so that maybe you could recognize it. And if there was a time that you recognized when you're in that state, it's really cool. Because you're like, wow, I'm experiencing this. This thing I've heard about online, cognitive dissonance. I have this one thought. I have information that contradicts that thought. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Perfect. Now you can learn. Now you can evaluate things. Now you can make a better decision. So recognizing it is one of the first steps to getting on with it, if you will. So let's look at the stories we got here today. Talked a little about cognitive dissonance. I want to talk about Vivek, who announces his run for presidency. I'm actually going to play his video because I don't think you've seen it yet. You may not even know who the guy is. I didn't before today. Mexico's top cop was arrested for taking payouts from the Sinaloa cartel. Oh, man. What are the odds of that, right? George Santos again. Man, I love this guy. He was on Piers Morgan, had an interview, and he doubled down on a lot of things. I want to touch on that. And for good news, I want to tell you about the fable of the Chinese farmer, because it is an important tale about how do you tell if something is even good news or not? I mean, sometimes you're really not sure until later. And so that is what I'm going to talk about for that. Again, if you're not watching this live, and probably most people are not watching this live, I time code everything across the bottom. If I'm blathering on too much about a story and you're just like, Tom, get to the next story. Can you just get to the next story? You can just click the time code. It'll be in the description. It'll be on the little scrub bar on YouTube, but it's a way that you can advance to the next story. Wouldn't that be awesome if the nightly news had that as well? I don't care about this story. Click next story. That would be cool. But you can do it with my show, not while it's live, because we can't time travel yet. But if you are watching it on replay, you can advance the stories. So let's get to this first. Cognitive dissonance. That was a good graphic. I should have used it while I was doing it. Our brain just can't take new ideas if they contradict it. But let's talk about Vivek, shall we? Yeah. And I'm gonna play his video for you. So let's check that out. Okay. Vivek. What a cool name. Entrepreneur, author Vivek Ramaswamy. Probably saying that wrong, but if he gets more popular, I'll probably learn to pronounce it. He's announced his candidacy for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. Appearing on Fox News, he launched his campaign with a video denouncing social justice activism, environmental, social, and governance investing, and diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Ramaswamy, who describes himself as anti-woke, advocates for faith, patriotism, and hard work as national identity markers, and seeks to cast COVID mitigation, climate change, and acceptance of transgender people as, quote, new secular religions. If elected, he plans to repeal Executive Order 1124-6, which has banned discrimination and required affirmative action for federal contractors since 1965, and to make political expression a civil right, banning private companies from discriminating based on political views. So this is a pretty big deal. Turns out I did know who this guy was. I did know who he was. I actually read his book, but I forgot it was him. I didn't recognize his name. So I think I read his book sometime over quarantine. And I'll probably do a review of it. I'll probably have to review the book really quick before I do a review of it. But he did put out a book about anti-woke. But I do want to play his video when he introduces himself and talks about what's important to him. You probably haven't seen this yet. So I'm going to play this for you. And again, why I was late today, the show was 3 hours late. I was trying to fix the audio with my studio setup. I think I've made a lot of improvements to the audio. There shouldn't be much echo, but I do believe it will sound better. And in doing that, somehow one of the drivers conflicted and suddenly my microphone stopped working. So, but eventually I was able to figure it out, obviously, and got it working again today. So thanks for your patience. If you were here a couple hours ago and you're like, where's Tom? That's what happened to me. So let's check out this video. And just let me know in the chat if you can hear this video well, because it's hard for me to test these things live. So anyway, let's check it out.
I remember in 1993 when I was in second grade, and I heard Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech for the first time. That was the speech where he said, I hope my 4 children grow up in a country where they are judged not on the color of their skin, but on the content of their character. That dream stuck with me. It meant something to me. I grew up in Ohio in the 90s as a skinny kid with nerdy glasses and a funny last name. My parents taught me that if you're going to stand out, then you might as well be outstanding. Achievement was my ticket to get ahead. I went on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. And I did it, getting married, raising a family, and following my faith in God. And yes, I am a millennial. I was born in 1985. But the sad part is that if I'd been born 20 years later, I think my story would have been possible. We're in the middle of a national identity crisis today. Our nation is hungry for a cause, for purpose, for meaning. The things that used to fill that void, like faith, patriotism, hard work, and family, have disappeared. We now embrace one secular religion after another, from COVIDism to climatism and gender ideology, to satisfy our deeper need for identity. Yet we cannot even answer the question of what it means to be an American in the year 2023. Today, the woke left preys on that vacuum. They tell you that your race, your gender, and your sexual orientation govern who you are and what you can achieve in life. If you question that orthodoxy, they call you a bigot, a homophobe, a climate denier, a racist. And there is no greater damnation in modern America than to be called a racist. This is psychological slavery. And that's created a new culture of fear in our country that has completely replaced our culture of free speech in America. If you ask me, the best measure of the health of American democracy is actually the percentage of people who feel free to say what they actually think in public. And right now we're doing it dismally. That's why today I'm announcing my run for President of the United States. This isn't just a political campaign. This is a cultural movement to create a new dream for the next generation of Americans. And this time around, it isn't just about money. It's about the unapologetic pursuit of excellence in our country. It means you believe in merit. That you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. It means you believe the people who we elect to run the government are the ones who actually run the government. Not federal bureaucrats who multiply themselves like a national cancer that's now metastasizing the private sector. It means that the best ideas win instead of getting censored. It means you don't have to choose between speaking your mind freely and putting food on the dinner table. It means you believe these ideals form the backbone of the greatest nation on earth, that the rest of the world still looks up to as its example. Not the Soviet Union in the last century, and not communist China in this one either. That is the new American dream. Ask yourself if you still believe in these ideals. I don't care if you're black or white, gay or straight, Democrat or Republican for that matter. Are you on board with these basic principles? If you are, then we're on the same team. I think most of you believe these things to be true. I think most of you think that your neighbors, your colleagues, and your classmates also believe these things to be true. But you can't be sure anymore because you don't feel free to talk about it. Maybe you disagree with each other about whether corporate tax rates should be high or low, whether ivermectin treats COVID, and that's fine. But those are details. We still agree on the most basic rules of the road, at least most of us do. Yet the goal of the ruling party in this country is to convince us that we are divided. Why? So they can accumulate more power for themselves. Well, you know what? I have a dream that we can be one people again. That our best days are actually, truly, not in some cheesy politician kind of way, but actually ahead of us. We've obsessed so much over our diversity and our differences that we forgot all the ways we're really just the same, bound by a common set of ideals as Americans. I believe deep in my bones that those ideals still exist. And I'm running president to revive them. E pluribus unum. From many, one. That is the dream that won the American Revolution. That is the dream that reunited us after the Civil War. That is the dream that won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is the dream that still gives hope to the free world. And if we can revive that dream over fractious group identity, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about. And that is what we need to revive in order to save this great nation.
All right. Wasn't sure how long that was going to go. But so that was his little intro video to tell you a little bit about him. I don't know a whole lot about him. Like I say, I did read his book, which was an anti-woke book. I'll review that here in the next couple of days after I do a quick little review of it. He's a real young guy. Really young. I think he's like 36 or something. He's like barely old enough to even run for president. But, you know, the more the merrier. And who knows? Does the guy have a chance? I guess anybody has a chance, right? I am impressed with this video, you know, taking a stand on some things, getting a message out. Now, for me, the most important thing is ending all these dumb wars. So that's what I want to hear somebody say. I want to hear someone repeat that old Boy George line, war is stupid, and people are stupid. But, you know, that's that's the number one issue for me. Now, I did see people are asking about, you know, the World Economic Forum connection to him. And just, I'm not defending it or anything like that. What I wanted to tell you, though, the World Economic Forum, they just glom on to anyone they think is going to be popular or is going to have some power. And they just put them up as people. And from what I understand, they don't ask you if you want to be, you know, one of their new leaders. They just go through and they just choose people and they announce it on their website. And most people are kind of thrilled, like, oh, look, the World Economic Forum, you know, says I'm a new global leader or something. Then you may get invited to things, but just because they've put you on their website doesn't mean that doesn't mean you've had anything to do with the World Economic Forum. They're kind of shady in that way. They put a lot of people up, and most people don't know much about the organization, or at least they didn't in the past, and so they thought it was kind of cool. But just because someone was on their website doesn't mean anything. Okay, it means absolutely nothing. It means the World Economic Forum thought that they could control them somehow, and they tried to, you know, this is someone that they're trying to buy off, right? So I don't know if he had anything to do with the World Economic Forum. Did he go there? Did he attend it? Did he participate in any of their programming? I don't know. But just because someone was on the website doesn't mean anything. So that's my take on that. I'll probably have more to say about this guy when I learn a little bit more about him. I don't have a lot to say. I did enjoy his book, and it did lay out a pretty basic level explanation of what wokeness is and where it came from. But I would say it was on a primary level, and I don't think it got into any of the real complexities, the political complexities of where it came from. But, you know, it was a good basic thing on that. So let's talk about Mexico's top cop. All right. Do this. There we go. Here he is. Genaro Garcia Luna, Mexico's former Secretary of Public Security from 2006 to 2012, has been found guilty of engaging in continuing criminal enterprise that included 6 drug-related violations by a federal jury in Brooklyn, New York. Garcia Luna used his official position to assist the violent Sinaloa drug cartel in exchange for millions of dollars in bribes, and now faces a mandatory minimum sentence of 20 years in prison. He moved to the United States in 2012 and lied about his criminal conduct on an application for naturalization in 2018. Well, if you're going to try to move to a new country, right, and you did a lot of criminal activity, you certainly can't fess up to it because they're not going to let you in. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You can't come in and say, yeah, I've taken millions of dollars from drug cartels. Not going to get a green card. Not going to happen. But this really shouldn't surprise anyone that a top person in charge of criminal justice, public safety, was taking money from a drug cartel. That's probably just doing business in that line of work in Mexico. Not a surprise, but it is what looks to have happened. Now, the difference is in our country, right? If you got the media backing you up, you can take, I don't know, $900,000 in bribes when you're like the vice president. I'm just making this up. This is just a hypothetical, right? But you could take 900 grand in. I need to always make sure to put this on vibrate. Frustrating. City of Portland is calling to tell me that it's snowing outside because I can't look out my window and see that snow is everywhere. Cool. Yeah. What was I saying? But yeah, hypothetically, you could be, I don't know, the vice president of the United States, take $900,000 in bribes from corrupt countries that may be ranked as one of the most corrupt countries in all of Europe, for example. And you could do that because what happens if you're a small YouTuber and you bring this story to light, suddenly you've got YouTube and Google that will censor your channel and will blacklist it and won't share it to anyone. And but that's just a hypothetical. Not that happened to me at all. I'm just saying that's hypothetically. So that's where this guy went wrong. Coming to the United States when he didn't have the media on his side, that was a mistake. There were lots of other countries he could have gone with his tens of millions of dollars that he took from drug cartels, and he probably would have been just fine. But I think he really liked the East Coast of the United States, and this is where he wanted to live. And, sometimes you get a little too greedy. So sad. Let's get on to a funnier story, shall we? Oh yeah, George Santos. He's back, baby. During a recent interview, Republican Congressman George Santos of New York admitted to being a terrible liar while continuing to make questionable claims about his background. New York Times previously reported that much of Santos's biography, including claims about his education, employment, appeared to have been fabricated. Santos, who's been investigated by the FBI and Nassau County District Attorney's Office, defended his actions by saying he was trying to get accepted by the local party. He also made claims about his Jewish ancestry and his mother's presence in the Twin Towers during the 9/11 attacks that have been disputed by genealogy records and immigration records. Santos denied responsibility for a GoFundMe campaign and claimed to have ordered DNA tests to prove his Jewish heritage. Now, this there we go. This was funny. I love this guy. This guy is so fun. Go watch the interview with Piers Morgan. I was laughing out loud. I was literally laughing out loud listening to this guy. I think he's my new hero. The set on this guy, George Santos. But he does something that most politicians / liars don't do. He admitted what he did was wrong, and some of the stuff that he said, no, I really believe this, we're going to follow up on it. Additionally, he said, no, I want to be above board from now on out, and I want you to hold me accountable, and I want to be more transparent. Damn. What if Joe Biden did that, when he got caught in the 80s when he ran for president, and he lied about his own background. He lied about where he went to school and how many degrees he had and that he was an honor student and all this kind of stuff. He said he did something stupid. He's going to do stupid stuff again. But he never encouraged the media to call him on it. He never asked for help from the media to keep him on the straight and narrow. Man, that would have been awesome. But George Santos is doing that. I think he should be applauded. Now, one of the things was the joke that he would make about being Jew-ish. And I think that's kind of a funny cocktail story joke. What he would do is he said, yeah, I was raised Catholic, but my mom's mom or whatever was Jewish, so technically I'm Jew-ish. And he would say that as a joke. That's kind of a funny joke. Now it turns out that through some research, they don't think that his family was Jewish, and he said, no, I really believe that's what I was told my whole life, and he ordered 4 different DNA tests, and he's going to present them, the findings from that, because he says he truly believes that. And if he truly believes that, he's again being transparent. When Elizabeth Warren made the claim about being Native American and she was called on it, she said, how dare you challenge me? And eventually she went and got a DNA test, and it turned out that she was, less Native American than most Americans, although it was, less than 1%. It was like a little tiny bit. But this George Santos guy's like, no, I ordered 4 DNA tests, and when we get the results, I'm going to make it all public. I love it, man. I love this guy. I want to start a fan club, and eventually, if I can get this show big enough, I want to have him on this show. I'd love to interview George Santos. This is like one of my new favorite politicians. I'm just rooting for the guy. I'm rooting for him. I really am. And prior to all this, I could have cared less about him. And I know not everyone's going to feel the same way I do. I just get a chuckle out of this dude. So don't try to stop me from enjoying this, because this is fun. This is fun for me. But let's get into a little bit of good news. Okay. This is the story of the Chinese farmer. Do you know this story? So, this comes from Alan Watts. He's the philosophical entertainer. He's passed away in the 70s. Don't recall offhand, a long time ago. But this was a story that he had, and it was once upon a time there was a Chinese farmer, and his horse ran away. That evening, all of his neighbors came around to commiserate. They said, oh, we're so sorry to hear your horse has run away. That's so unfortunate. And the farmer said, well, maybe. The next day, the horse came back bringing 7 wild horses with it. And in the evening, everyone came back and said, oh, aren't you so lucky? What a great turn of events. You now have 8 horses. And the farmer again said, maybe. The following day, his son tried to break one of the horses, and while riding it, he was thrown and broke his leg. The neighbors then said, oh, dear, that's too bad. And the farmer responded, maybe. The next day, the conscription officers came around to conscript people into the army, and they rejected his son because his son had a broken leg. And again, all the neighbors came around and said, "Isn't that great?" And again, he said, "Maybe." And the point of this story is, a lot of times you don't know if something is good or bad news when it's happening. There can be consequences from it that turn out to be great or turn out to be terrible. You know, I'm reminded of that movie Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow. I think it was one of her early movies. She had a terrible British accent. Actually, I thought it was a pretty good accent. And the idea of the movie is what happens when she missed her subway ride, and what happens when she made it. And her life was very different in both of those cases. But that's the thing is maybe you miss your subway ride, but then you meet someone, and that person helps you get a better job or introduces you to your future spouse, right? So maybe initially missing that subway ride could have turned into one of the best things that ever happened to you. The point is that there's waves in life, and you shouldn't fight against them. You should try to ride them out. That's the story of the Chinese farmer. And I think that that is a good thing to put it in perspective, that sometimes when we get bad news, perhaps it's not really bad news. And when we get good news, maybe it's not good news, because we don't know everything that's associated with it. Just to keep those things in mind, I think it's a fun fable, and it's something that you can reflect on. Now, in this story, the farmer says maybe. I like the word perhaps. I use that a lot. But you can think about that. Next time something happens that might be good or bad, you might just think perhaps. Perhaps it is. Perhaps it's not. We don't know. Stick around in the after show. I want to talk to everybody that left some comments and was here live. I really appreciate everyone for being here. What the heck? Now, when I say I want to... 50 likes? I'm probably just asking for 50 views. But if we can get a like for every view, we'll get the 50 likes. Anyway, stick around for the after show. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will answer your questions. Hope you're all having an awesome day. And I should be back tomorrow with even better sound than today. See you then. Peace. All right. Hey, thanks for sticking around, everyone. That's pretty awesome. Looks like we're up to 18 likes already. That is fantastic. Love it. I know Apothecary John tried to get here this morning, and he didn't think he would make it this evening. That's cool. I'm glad that you were here, and you always put in comments. That means a great deal to me. So some people dropped in earlier, and they weren't here, so maybe they'll catch the replay. That's cool. Tobias says, Jody says, fill me in. What did we get wrong? Well, I'm not talking about anything that we got wrong. I'm talking about someone on Twitter. You know? So don't worry about that. Tobias was here, says, people with extreme cognitive dissonance. I have such a hard time saying that word. And I think that it would be better if there were a different term that we could rattle off, because it's a hard word to say. Cognitive dissonance. It says, people with extreme cognitive dissonance think that me not wanting to watch Rachel Maddow's take on issues is the same as not wanting to consider an alternative take. Says, I'm pretty shocked. Diet Sprite says, I'm pretty stoked for this election. Should be fun. Tobias was here, says, Now that you mention it, sounds good with no echo effect. Video has bad echo. Okay. So it looks like the video that I pulled up had some echo. I do think my microphone sounds better now. I got some extra wires and some new equipment, trying to make it all sound good, trying to make it all work together. And a lot of times I will test it out and I'll record it and it's perfect. But for whatever reason, then when I go live, it's a totally different animal. So a lot of this testing I have to do live. Okay. Ted Calvin told me to turn it up, so I did turn up the audio again for the audio for the video on what was his name? Vivek on Vivek's campaign video. Ted asks, what's his World Economic connection, if any? You know, that is one thing I touched on in the video. World Economic Forum, they're a bunch of shysters, and they claim everyone. So if anyone does anything good, they've already taken their picture, put it on their website. They say they're a future leader. And then if they do things they don't like, then they scrub it off the internet. A lot of those people never asked to be put on there. Yeah. There's shady organization being shady. Santos is no different than AOC. Santos is a balding, nearsighted version of AOC. Little bit. I think AOC is pretty charismatic and she's very pretty. And I think she does her job well, you know. She gets attention and she doesn't care if what she's saying isn't true because the people that love her don't care. That's an example of cognitive dissonance. It's like you're a super fan of AOC, and if anyone comes with any information, like she's lying about something or that she's making something up, they don't even want to hear it. They're like, no. AOC rules, you drool. You know, it doesn't work that way. So that's an example of cognitive dissonance. Santos could be the love child of Steve Cortez and Comb Over Kids. I don't know who they are, but perhaps. Impressive to see that you like both Santos and Tulsi after she shredded him on Fox News. You helped me to like him also, Tom. That's the thing. No, I think people lie about Tulsi. It's unreal how much she has been maligned in the press. So much so that you think, even if you're a fan of hers, you think some negative things. Go check out what those negative things that they've said about her, and it turns out to be not true. Now, for example, she did dispute the World Economic Forum thing. They said, and people are like, oh, but she tweeted about it. She tweeted that she was happy to be accepted into the World Economic Forum. She stated she didn't know what it was. They told her that they listed her as like a new leader, a new world leader when she was first elected into Congress. She looked at it. She said, oh, look, there's Republicans and Democrats on this. Oh, that's cool. And then tweeted, yay, I'm being recognized. And then later, she learned about the organization, and they scrubbed her from their website. And they want nothing to do with Tulsi. It seems like a reasonable explanation to me. Tulsi said that she never went to any of their meetings. She never graduated from anything that they did. She never participated in a single event that they had. But yet, to this day, people will say, oh, you know, Tulsi was a World Economic Forum person. What would you say if an organization put your name on their website? You're like, oh, that's cool. And then you find out that they're garbage. They take it down. And then from the rest of history, people can't get over the fact that it appeared on a website somewhere for a short amount of time. Even though you had nothing to do with it, You never went to a single meeting. Come on. Give me a break. And if you cling to that, again, that's cognitive dissonance. Okay. Let's see. Muggsy Spud. Appreciate you, Tom. I appreciate you too, Muggsy. I think Muggsy is in Germany, if I remember correctly. I think he said that in here somewhere. Grüß Gott, Muggsy. Hope you're doing well. Good show today. Show gets better every day. I'm trying to make it better every day. It doesn't always. But, I figure if I'm not going to get thousands of views, at least I can try to get better, right? Mike sounds good. I'm glad. Yeah, I had some settings wrong on it this entire year, and I just figured it out today. Alan Watts told the story of the farmer, speaks about Buddhism and Eastern philosophers in a way that's easy to understand. There are many YouTube videos about his talks. The reverb that used to happen during picture-in-picture is gone, but now a delay effect during the video. Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you for sharing that, Tobias. Yeah, Alan Watts is awesome. You can check out many different things on him. Just give it a search. You should come up with him. Muggsy says AOC is hot as F. I kind of agree. It's like a superpower. Tulsi is on point. AOC is indeed hot. What is your Cash App? My Cash App is Coffee and Nuance. So whether that's a $ Coffee and Nuance or whatever it is, if you go to my link tree is in the description, and that'll list all of the different things that so you can hit me up on Cash App or PayPal or whatever the things are there. And if you want to hit me up, that would be awesome. I appreciate that. Muggsy's in Berlin. Ah, yes, Berlin. I was so close to being in Berlin in 1989, but I came back to the U.S. In August of 89. Little did I know, was it September that the wall came down? So just missed it. But anyway, yeah, that's all I got for today. I appreciate you all so much. Thanks for joining me on this belated video live stream that I did today. I will be back tomorrow at noon, West Coast, 3 on the East Coast, and I'll be playing around with more of the settings and see if I can come up with to make it even better. But I appreciate you all so much. Have a beautiful day. Let's see if I can see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So thank you all so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.